Hello, how are you? I'm Matthew, and this is Truth from the Booth on Folked Up Radio. Thanks for making space for me and my guest on this Super Bowl Sunday. And yeah, go Seahawks. Today, we're taking the show out of Halifax and into another province, another community facing the same homelessness crisis. Miramichi, New Brunswick, population just over 19,000, compared to nearly 500,000 here in the Halifax Regional Municipality. Different scale, same emergency. In just a moment, you'll hear a 30-minute conversation with two people working directly on the front lines. Patty Quinn, Deputy Mayor of Miramichi, and Chad Duplessis, Community Developer with Horizon Health. Both are board members with Miramichi Housing Solutions Incorporated, and both helped release new Community Hub impact and service statistics that are turning heads. What they've accomplished in 8 months is more than progress. It's a blueprint other communities should be paying attention to. Real numbers, real people, real solutions. We're getting into it right after this short break, right here on FokedUpRadio.com. Halifax, Nova Scotia, home of talk radio, Truth from the Booth, an ongoing awareness campaign, keeping Canada's housing crisis on the front burner and in the moment, right here in the Halifax Regional Municipality, the Maritimes, and beyond. True, real-life stories told by those living it, existing in the streets. They bear all and provide you a brief glimpse into an unimaginable world of misery and disappointment, resilience, and triumph. Hear from those with boots on the ground advocating for change now. The stories of the unhoused need to be told by them to educate you, all of us. Hear all the conversations Sundays at 10 a.m. with a repeat at 6 p.m. here on FokedUpRadio.com. Now, back to today's fantastic guest. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in Halifax, and I'm speaking with a couple of gentlemen who are in Miramichi, Patty Quinn and Chad Duplessis. Before we get into the meat of this conversation, mental wellness on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you both, if you don't mind?
Yeah, good question, Matt. I'll go first. This is Patty, and thanks again for having me and including Chad in this conversation. Mental health, we were discussing before we got rolling here. It's up and down. These are tough issues to tackle in our community, but all things fair and equal, if you're looking for a number out of 10, I'll give you a 7 to 8 out of 10. Okay,
fantastic. Chad, you?
Yeah, doing all right. There's definitely been moments where it gets rough. Certainly, in direct correlation to doing this work on kind of all sides of the kind of issue. But no, it's things are pretty well right now.
Okay. I had mentioned in the intro, just kind of briefly giving the audience an idea who you are. So before we get into the meat of the conversation, which is going to be talking about the Community Hub impact and service statistics, an 8-month period between May of 2025 and January 26th of this year. But before we get into that, because that's why you gentlemen are here, just quickly in Cole's notes, just expand a little bit about yourself, Patty, beginning with you. This is your third appearance on my program. You are a board member on the Miramichi Housing Solutions Incorporated. What paths did you take in life that have led to where you are right now? And when you're finished, Chad, you can answer the same thing.
For sure.
Well, if you're asking, Matt, how I ended up in Miramichi Housing Solutions, I guess the quick answer is it's an extension of my service to the community as a city councilor, which Chad is also one of, and just seeing the need in our community and feeling that, you had a certain skill to loan to the board, whether that's on the political side of things or at the street level side of things. And here we are. It's born of absolute necessity. We are not isolated from this issue, as most communities in Atlantic Canada, if not Canada, are dealing with here on the day-to-day.
Chad, how about you?
Yeah, I think this work has always been something I've been focused on. It's kind of guided my career, coming out of university, did a degree in human rights, and kind of ambitions of, heading off to a far-off land to do nonprofit work. And then quickly realized that there's enough of that work to go in this community and our surrounding communities. So it's been about 6 years working directly with homeless folks, but working on social issues for a long time. And this seems like the most pressing one that needs, it's an all hands on deck moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Can you expand a little bit more on your role as community developer for Horizon Health quickly?
Yeah, so we are focused on kind of building community capacity, working with government agencies, but most importantly, working with community associations, organizations to address issues of health equity, right? So, there's the social determinants of health, and housing is a big one. So we find ourselves kind of looking at those kind of structural issues with housing and determinants of health, but also the issues of health equity and access are a major one for folks that are living rough or in between housing or whatever the situation is.
Okay. Are you both lifetime residents of Miramichi? I'm not sure about you, Patty. Where you both originate from?
I was born and raised in Miramichi, in the former town of Chatham, I guess, if you want to drill right down on it, Matt. I've been around in my former radio career around Atlantic Canada, but by and large, the majority of my adult life has been in Miramichi, relocated back home in 1999, and I've been heavily involved in the community, both on the good stuff and the stuff that needs our due care and attention.
Okay. Chad, how about you?
Yeah, I describe myself as born and raised, but in fact was born in Northwest Territories, as my parents were teaching school up there for 12 years. But from an early age, moved home, and always raised in the community and have active family members in the community. So certainly, born and raised, with born being quotation marks, I guess.
Fantastic. Okay. Now that we kind of have a basis of who you fantastic gentlemen are, let's get into the Community Hub impact and service statistics, and let's go right at the very beginning. Can you give me a sense of where the majority of folks are coming from? Unique individuals served, 103 cases. That's over an 8-month period. Are they coming from the Miramichi, or are they coming from different communities because of the resources that they're hearing about?
It's certainly a mixed bag. Our data suggests that we are a bit of an outlier in the province in that the majority of our folks are rooted in the Miramichi region. So, compare that to the Moncton, Fredericton, St. John kind of urban areas. They have probably 65% transient population, where we would have 65% plus are rooted in Miramichi. And then you look up north into the Bathurst region, and similarly their catchment is a lot of the Francophone communities. So they're folks coming into their community from outside the region. So we are a bit of a unique outlier, and I think it's an opportunity that when people are rooted in community, it's a lot easier to integrate into secure, supportive housing, whatever it's going to be. So we do have an opportunity there.
I think, Patty, you had mentioned in a message that the approximate population of Miramichi is roughly 19,000 as of last year. Is that somewhere in the ballpark?
Correct. We're just north of 19,000.
Okay. And have you seen a number of cases? Are you more busy with what you're doing, say, within the last 5 years? Certainly within the COVID period, yes?
Oh yeah, the uptick is somewhat correlated to the pandemic for sure, and the numbers have increased since that, Matt. It went. I don't know if I'm using the right terms. Chad will straighten me out here. It went from a relatively non-visible population to a very visible population, and I think that would be the same in most communities around Atlantic Canada, where you are on the HRM and down there as well. And I don't think I'm wrong in misspeaking there, Chad. I'm sure you would correlate that as well.
Yeah, I always go back to 2018 on City Council, when a group had presented to us for the municipality to fund a data software collection service called HIFIS that the province uses to track homelessness, just so we could prove to the province that we did have an issue, because it wasn't visceral, right? You couldn't see it in the streets. We knew it was there. So in 2018 is a good mark to indicate that we knew it was there. We couldn't see it. And now it's blatantly obvious.
Yeah, and it's, the floodgates are open, right? I've always said that the issue needs to be addressed at the front end of this. We talked quickly at the very beginning, your mental wellness on a scale of 1 to 10. Chad, you're on the front line. Where's a ballpark when you're dealing with people who are out on the street? I see it every day here. I know the elements can beat people down. Where, in your opinion, do you think people's mental wellness is who are outside battling the elements in Miramichi? It can't be good,
I mean,
right?
it's tough, right? Like a lot of the folks that I talk to, and a lot of the folks on the street are, I'm 41 years old. They're between the age of 40 and 50. They're men. A lot of them got kids at home that they struggle to see. And then you overlay all of the instincts to survive, which gives them a sense of purpose, I think. But that's not the type of purpose that a person wants. So it's definitely, they're a resilient bunch. There's no doubt about it. But it's not easy in kind of those moments, like at our clinic, when there's that safe space for them to kind of, take the layers of clothes off and take the layers of trauma off. You really get a sense of the emotional and personal struggle that folks are going through.
And Matt, if I may add to that, further to what Chad just said, the emotional toll too, no secret to you, we've discussed this in prior appearances on your program, with our employees and the frontline workers, there's a toll there too. These are people who chose this path in life, and they feel the ups, they certainly feel the downs of this issue. When we do have, a death or sickness or addiction issues, they're wearing that as well. And I wish people would, objectively look that it's not just about the population that we're seeing, it's about the folks that are on the front lines trying to help them, whether they're our employees or they're medical professionals or social department folks. It's widespread. There's a toll being paid here.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, Patty, because that was something I was going to discuss later on, but let's do it right now. What mechanisms are in place for your own employees to deal with the trauma that they are seeing and dealing with every day? Because I needed therapy for it.
Sure. You go ahead there, Chad.
Yeah, we've had a breakthrough on that. It was something I was focused on for a bit. And because it's not even like it's the day-to-day kind of trauma of it all, but a lot of folks coming into this work are coming at from an informed kind of personal lens, right? They have family members that have lived this. They might have lived it. And then certainly in their, in the work, their firsthand. The government sets up these organizations at an arm's length primarily for cost-saving measures. Mm-hmm. If these workers in these institutions and these services were embedded in the government, they'd have benefits. Mm-hmm. Our organization is not funded to provide benefits, but there was a breakthrough a couple months ago where social development had extended their Homewood Health, their online mental health support system that they get as a benefit. They extended that to the frontline workers, which was huge. And then through Patty's network, we were able to recruit a retired psychologist just recently, and she's planning to prepare herself to give mental health support to our staff in a one-on-one basis, right? So I think those two services, one's action, and hopefully people take them up. I think we should be pretty proud that folks go from having no support, literally no support, to at least having two opportunities to engage at no cost.
Well, if there's no support, there's burnout and there's turnover, and this is not something that everyone can handle as a profession day to day, right?
Yeah. 100%.
So hats off to everyone. Seriously, everyone, just hats off to everyone that is a part of this. I know, because I've talked to dozens and dozens and dozens of people over the years that I've been here, that there's a multitude of reasons why people find themselves outside. Rent eviction, some escaping domestic abuse, losing your job, no family. What are some of the stories? What are some of the reasons that residents in Miramichi are finding themselves outside? Just so the audience knows that it's a universal thing. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah, Chad, you back me up here. I'll go first. Matt, all of the above is the short answer. Divorce, family issues, addiction issues, eviction issues, and I hate to water this down. And just folks who unfortunately are on a real good run or real bad luck. You see it all. The spectrum is wide. and nobody is insulated from this. We're all within a check or two of perhaps finding ourselves in a similar situation as rent skyrocketed, the ability to afford homes has skyrocketed, and the market for jobs is somewhat low in certain areas, ourselves included. And Chad, you expand upon that.
Yeah, I think 100% you're right, Patty. I think I would add that there is some baseline experiences that seem to run pretty consistently, and that's childhood trauma and a lack of family kind of cohesion. I think those two kind of elements, as you dig into personal stories, which we've heard lots of, those two things, unresolved childhood trauma, I should say, and then from their own actions or other people's actions, the kind of the family unit just not having the ability to provide that support when folks do, come along. Bad luck, as Patty had mentioned, right? I've had bad luck. I'm sure we all have.
Sure.
And those moments where you rely on your network and they have privilege and they're able to support you, and that's just not the case for everyone. And you pick up an addiction and you get pride because you're a 40-year-old working man and you can't do that anymore, and then you find yourself knocking on the door of a shelter.
Can you I'm just looking at some of the numbers here for the housing outcomes. Can you just expand a little bit more? I know every case that is successful is joyful. It's a mission accomplished. Can you just expand a little bit more about natural supports and being reconnected with family? That must take above and beyond to heal, to have family back together. Because I know sometimes family just turn their back when you're without four walls. So can you just expand on that?
Yeah, it's definitely and it's a lot. Often it's easier to attach folks to services and supports that are outside of the family unit. It's a lot for a family unit to kind of jump back into that, for whatever the history is. But there, especially the young folks is the big one, right? And that 18 to 25 range where folks kind of they're out there for maybe different reasons than the folks that are a little more beaten down, and when you're able to kind of I always say to folks, play this out, right? Especially those younger folks, right? Here's your decisions that are being made, play this out. Where does this end you, right? Are you 20 years into this? At what point? So just that preventative part of it. I think back to the first out of the cold shelter we had opened, and there was a gentleman that I met, early 20s, presented to me obviously with autism, never diagnosed, and was able to kind of reconnect him to some services to support his autism. That led him to kind of take that message to his family. And there was a bit of some empathy or whatever it was that was created through that process. And, I don't know necessarily what happened to him, but I don't see him in the shelter system anymore. And, like to think that he was able to reconnect.
Wonderful. You're like this conduit for reconnecting with people. That's fantastic. Patty, do you want to have anything to add to that? I know that you're tight for time. So, Patty, whenever you have to, when you give me a 5-minute warning and we'll button it up, but there's a few more things I want to talk about. So let's just move on to the next thing. Housing stability. I know how traumatizing it can be for individuals to always have the thought of having to move again. So when you are putting people in places, are they places that they choose? Are they predetermined? And how long are they going to be there? Because I think trying to avoid triggering them is pretty important. So how do you walk that tightrope?
I'll let you chew on that one, Chad, first.
Yeah, I mean, excuse the language, but beggars can't be choosers in our housing market. We have a vacancy rate that floats between 0.5 and 1.5%, right? So when you find landlords that are willing to help house people, they're few and far between. And but I think that the quality of housing that we've been able to secure through primarily the efforts of the municipality and the developers, we've had some of the per capita, some of the most affordable housing starts in a municipality in Canada in the last little while. And a lot of those new developments, beautiful buildings, come with affordable housing units. So folks are getting kind of often settled into quality housing. I think more the complexity side of it is when people need supportive housing, getting them to recognize that they need supportive housing, and then finding the right supportive housing. Sending a 26-year-old man with schizophrenia since he was 13 years old, being diagnosed, to live with in a special care home with 60, 75-year-old people is not a good fit. But there's not a whole lot of supportive housing, so we find ourselves. That's where we see folks kind of going into a system that doesn't fit their needs, right? And coming back out.
Matt, I think I'll add something to that. I think I'm saying the same thing in a different way, and I'm going to. This is City Council, me speaking for ever so briefly here. We take great pride in the fact that the city is growing. You mentioned our population. Chad mentioned our record growth in construction and builds. I think there's 800 to 900 units in various states of design, construction, and finish in the community as we speak today. But you have to objectively stand back sometimes and go, who are we building these for? Are we getting Matt out of the $400 apartment, and Matt's going to go to the $800 apartment, and we relieve the pressure of that lower end apartment for someone who needs it? So we have taken great pride in subsidizing some of our folks for housing starts to include affordable housing units. So it's a cyclical thing, Matt. The wheel keeps turning here. We're proud of our growth, but then you have to objectively stand back and go, we still have some holes to fill. And I say that on behalf of Miramichi, but it's similar in every community. You see it on the front lines in the HRM.
Well, here's what I'll say. I may sound like a broken record because I've said it many times on this radio program. I've said it many times in my live stream. But for me, it is just simple mathematics. It's the cost of living. I fear for people who are making minimum wage, who are living by themselves, people who are on a fixed income, people who are on a pension, because the cost of living is going up. I can't tell you how many seniors that we made cry at Grand Parade Square in the winter of 2023, because when they came in, they realized then that, oh my goodness, like the cost of living is continuing to rise. So for me, my point is, if we could give people a livable wage, if we could bring down the cost of living, stop giving the corporations outrageous amounts of money, whether it's NB Power, Nova Scotia Power, let's bring down the cost of food. I don't see any forces working on the front end, and as taxpayers, our money is going into Band-Aid solutions with shelters, and you know what I mean? And that's my devil's advocate point of view there.
Yeah, Matt, if I can just add you a little personal story, something I encountered here in the last couple of months of my life with a gentleman here in town who I've known very well. I've known his family very well. And I've often thought, if I was in this moment, if I'm coming to Matt or Chad, to use two names because I'm talking to you two, and I need some financial assistance, it's going to be for a sizable chunk of money. Like, I need help. But this gentleman that I met on the streets, he'd be familiar with Chad. When I got talking to him, I was out for a stroll a few weeks ago. To your point, Matt, when we got to the topic of can I help, and I'm not trying to be the hero here, I'm just telling you the what happened. The ask was for $6. $6 was to make the rent for the month, and I'm just like, wow, like $6. That's the line. It wasn't $600, it wasn't $200, it was $6, and you stand back and go, wow, like, are we there? And you know what? We're there.
Yeah, I'll just say that I've told my audience many times, if you really want to get a snapshot of what's happening here with people in Nova Scotia, the Facebook page Helping End Homelessness in Nova Scotia, you can go there at any time of the day and just read horrific stories of people begging for help. And I'm sure the situation is likewise in New Brunswick. Going to just move along. Patty, I know you're tight for time. I just want to give you both an opportunity to give a shout out to everyone. We're just moving along to the stats that have been released, and people are going to be able to follow along with on my YouTube channel. But the food and basic needs and the basic needs supports. Can you just give a shout out to everyone who is making donations and working behind the scenes in that aspect?
Well, look at. I'll go first. That's I could chew on that one for a while, man. The reality is those that care really care, and they're giving of themselves. They're giving of their financial resources. They're giving of their food, their used clothing, insert whatever there. And Miramichi's had a long history of that, and we are the product of that. We are getting help from the community. We're coming up into one of our biggest fundraisers of the year, the coldest night of the year, which is the single biggest day that our association benefits from. And the community's dialed in because they A, see the need, B, they see our successes, and they want to help us, and they want to be part of the solution rather than sit on the sidelines and go, how did we get here? Rather than say, how do we get here, they're going, how do we get out of here? And that's a whole different topic of conversation, and I'm proud to say I'm from here because of those moments. And do we have a long way to go? Absolutely. Do we need more people? Absolutely. Do we need more resources? For sure. But we're very visible, Chad. I'm sure you would agree with that, and those that want to help are helping.
Yeah, 100%. I would give a special nod. We have a very unique operation here, Jeremy's Mission, and there's a lady. She's an older lady into her 70s, and she goes by Mama. That's what everyone calls her. And she started a few years ago, just opening up the trunk of her car and handing out breakfast sandwiches. She's been doing it for years now, and she is that kind of for the folks on the street, that's where they go in the morning. They create community, they eat, they connect with Mama, they get a hug, they get a scolding, whatever it is, kind of what you'd expect from that role. And what she's also provided is kind of this beacon for empathy, where there is a lot of shame helping, right? There's a lot of political pressure, there's a lot of social pressure, there's a lot of, I've been called an enabler, Matt, you were talking about your own experience in helping. And with her, it seems like it's a beacon of empathy where folks can kind of see, they can pull off the side of the street, they can offer to help, they can learn her story. Very kind of, she really opens the door for people, lay people to kind of get a sense of what's, and humanize the situation, right? It's remarkable how we and I can just assume the thoughts that run people's heads, and I hear them. When you see someone living rough, they internally, and externally, they call them down to the lowest, right? We've had reports of rocks being thrown at people, people being fed sandwiches with cat food in them. There's really, really egregious abuses that happen from, just general people that have their shit together, abusing and bullying people that don't, because they're wearing, again, a few extra layers of clothes and might not have a fresh haircut in a little while.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chad. I've never thought of Mama in that context. I appreciate hearing that. She's been a beacon of empathy and has opened the doors for others to join her journey and mission, Matt.
The reason that you two are on here, this is, I want to shine a spotlight on what the community of Miramichi is doing. And yeah, the experiences, what I have heard with my own ears, what I have seen, I wouldn't wish for anyone else to see.
Yeah.
Like the streets of Halifax have certainly changed over the years. Just a couple of more things, then we're going to get into a couple of personal things, and then I'll let you guys go and continue on to Friday. Identification and documentation. I know it's been my experience that people without identification, it can just be incredibly impossible just to get into a facility, have a shower. What's the average time frame with folks getting birth certificates, IDs, and are individuals ever fast-tracked due to a circumstance where they just need it ASAP? Can you kind of give us some insight to that?
Yeah, there's some folks that'll work magic for you. And then there is the red tape and the bureaucratic process that creates barriers left, right, and center, right? A photo ID is, like simple piece of plastic to prove that someone is who they are. You can't, if you don't have that, you can't get a bank account. If you can't get a bank account, you can't get a job. If you can't get a job, you can't get a house, right? Like, this is a piece of plastic. And Service Canada, Service New Brunswick, they've created these what they call super clinics or moving forward together clinics, where on a certain day, there's a certain public safety at a federal level gives the ability to provide paperwork that the shelter is your place of residency, and once you have a place of residency, you can get an ID. Outside of these clinics, that doesn't exist. We did a clinic a few months ago, super successful. I think there was 18 people got IDs, 23 people through the door, 3 people into detox. And the powers that be at the federal government level said, well, next year you guys get 1 clinic. So there's one day in 2026 that folks will be able to access a photo ID,
right,
and their CRA and all of this stuff with these special privileges. One day.
That makes zero sense. That the barriers that continuously are put in front of these people, it astounds me. Like, I just don't understand it. Do you have anything to add? And then we're going to get into the final things, and I'll let you go. Patty, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, well, just real quickly, it's been my experience. I've met a few of our friends. Matt, as Chad references, a place of residence to open up a bank account. I am familiar that some are receiving social assistance and we're cashing them at those payday loan stores. No disrespect to people who work there, but when you don't have the ability to cash your check and someone's looking for 40% off your check, it's a barrier. It's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And to Chad's point, one day, I'm going to reiterate that, one day in the calendar year 2026 for this clinic, for this, not so much clinic, for this, clinic, for lack of better, to get things set up it's egregious. It truly is. I don't know. I'm not going to get on my political pulpit, Matt, but it's everything.
We'll connect after, Patty.
What, sorry?
I said we'll connect after. We'll get you on that political pulpit.
Yeah. It's just one of those barriers, Matt. One day out of 365. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Once a month, once a week. Throw us a bone here.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely agree. If you're just joining this broadcast, my name is Matthew, and this is Truth from the Booth. We're speaking with Patty Quinn and Chad Duplessis. They're in Miramichi. We've been talking about Community Hub impact and service statistics. You can see all this information on their Facebook page. They're doing it right in Miramichi, which is why they're on this broadcast today, because I'm just continuously educating the audience and educating myself. So business aside, Patty, I know you got to go. One final thing, and then one final thing from Chad. You have been on this broadcast 3 times, and the last time you were on here, I know you were discussing the 2026 Men's National Championship happening at the Ironman Field and Waldo Henderson Memorial. In the late 80s, I played at the Ironman Field. Just quickly talk about that.
Yeah, so Matt, coming up, as you say, 3rd week of August. Last time we hosted was 2019. Quick plug, we won the national championship. Good for the community, all the economic benefits of why you would organize such a thing. We see the results of our hotels are full for that period of time, and again, and I'll give Chad the credit here. It's about community building. That's not just baseball term. It's about something to focus on, maybe something positive for a couple of days. It's not as watered down as a ball tournament. It's not just that. It's everything. And looking forward to it. I am directly involved with that, and just another thing to hang our hat on for a couple of weeks and get a little reprieve from the day to day.
Fantastic. Well, in the meantime, we have the Olympics, which is how I have been starting my day. Sunrise, coffee, and the Olympics. Chad, final thing. You accepted my friend request on Facebook, and one of the first things I saw was a post that you put up. Comedy night open mic. So quickly myself in 2016, I thought it would be a good idea to try stand up. I was living in British Columbia at the time, but I tried Yuck Yucks twice.
Ooh, baby.
Twice within probably a 2-month period. Failed miserably, but I just had to do it. What's been your experience, and how much experience do you have doing comedy?
Yeah, I think I'm probably getting closer on 60 shows. I started about, just over 2 years ago. I always say it's cheaper than therapy, right? It's not a good money, but I'll take the $25 versus the $200 for a private therapist.
Do you find it challenging to entertain a room full of drunk people if you're sober? Because I don't drink, right? I was stone cold sober, and I was trying to make a bunch of drunk people laugh, and it did not work.
I'm not.
Bad.
I can't really. I'm usually drunk, so it's I can't really empathize with you.
Okay, listen, I just want, I'm glad that we had ended this on a good laugh. I want to thank the both of you for taking the time out of your day to just, again, educate my audience. This show is on folkedupradio.com. It's reaching 162 countries around the world, and we're really big in Holland, so big shout out to all the listeners in Holland. Patty Quinn, Chad Duplessis, thank you both.
Well, real quickly, Matt, if I may, to yourself, you're thanking us, but thank you for what you do in Halifax Region Municipality, and I would encourage you to keep putting good things into the world, my friend.
And now for something completely different. Today, Canada wakes up cold and already watching. In city squares and community rinks, Olympic coverage runs on a loop. Fans gather, flags wave, medals are chased half a world away in Italy, while pride is rationed carefully at home. In Timmins, Ontario, teenagers slide stones across fresh ice as the Canadian U18 Curling Championships begin. No headlines yet, just quiet pressure and the sound of future scraping forward. Out west, winter festivals and home shows stretch from Kelowna to Vernon, people browsing renovations they may never afford, warming hands around paper cups, pretending spring is closer than it is. In the Greater Toronto Area, convention halls fill with hopeful entrepreneurs at the Franchise Canada show, buying into independence, one application fee at a time. And tonight, coast to coast to coast, Canada gathers again, not to host, but to watch. The Super Bowl lights up screens, drowns out the quiet, and reminds the country that spectacle is still affordable, even when everything else isn't. I'm Matthew. Your Sunday soundtrack continues with No Yellow Flags Thrown on 99.9 FM Perth Andover and folkedupradio.com.